All right, good evening. It is now 6:30 p.m. and we'll convene the City of Rowlett's Board of Adjustments meeting for Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. As authorized by the section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, this meeting may be convened into closed executive session for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney on any agenda item herein. The City of Rowlett Board of Adjustments reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or called executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment. Process for public input. If you're not able to attend in person, you may complete the citizens input form on the city's website by 3:30 p.m. the day of the meeting. All forms will be forwarded to the Board of Adjustments prior to the start of the meeting. You have received those forms. You have them in process. For in-person comments, registration forms, instructions are available inside the door of the City Council chambers. This time we'll call the meeting to order. I did want to note we have two opportunities for public discussion. This evening we'll have citizens input, which is coming up, and then after the presentation we'll call for any other additional comments that anyone may want to come up and speak. When we do that, you have to come to the podium, give your name and address, and then you'll be able to speak. So at this time we'll call the meeting to order. And first order of business is citizens input. At this time, 3 minutes comments will be taken from the audience on any topic. No action can be taken by the board during citizens input. This time, do we have anyone like to come up and speak?
Non-agenda items?
Yeah, these are anything whatsoever. All right, with that, we'll close the citizens input. Next, item 3, the consent agenda. Consider approval of the minutes of the Board of Appeals meeting on December 13th, 2023.
We accept the minutes as printed.
Second. All right, at this time, we'll vote. All right, the motion passes. The meeting minutes have been approved. We'll move on to item number 4, action items. Item 4A, consider and take action on appeal for the revocation of the short-term rental permit for 2109 Indian Trail. This time the city have a presentation.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. So we're here tonight to discuss the revocation of a short-term rental permit at 2109 Indian Trail. This is not That's not it? This is about this. Wind generation.
When we get started, can you speak a little more?
Yes, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, while they're looking at that, I want to introduce our new city attorney.
Sure.
Victoria Thomas.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for working with us.
You, I'm from the same firm that has a firm.
You're there with us. This is our
Yeah. that's one we were- This is just. Part of the house, please.
Let's try this again. Okay. Technical difficulties. Any, am I boring or something? Okay, third time is the charm, right? It's gotta work. So everybody talked about, we're here to talk about the revocation of the short-term rental permit for 2109 Indian Trail. Very good. All right.
I was the lucky charm.
There you go. Give her a hand. So just a little bit of background information. State legislation prohibits us from banning short-term rental property or somebody from having a short-term rental in the state of Rowlett or pretty much anywhere in the state. However, they do say that we can add regulations or adopt regulations that will help, I guess I'm repeating this again, help regulate these short-term rental properties. So October 16th of 2018, the city did adopt short-term rental ordinance 35-118 or 18. And then on March 7th of 2023, we revised the rental housing ordinance altogether. That was adopted, there was ordinance 723. This one included revisions to the short-term rental ordinance and the addition of hotel and motel regulations. In that short-term rental ordinance adoption, we did put in there, as you see, section 10427 F9, the occurrence of a third repeat violation over a period of any 12 consecutive months shall result in the revocation of the permit. So to let you know where the property is located, it is zoned SF10. It's located on the corner of Indian Trail and University Drive. And according to the Dallas Central Appraisal District, it's owned by Amy Lynn. And Jackson Lee, who is here tonight, is the property owner's son, and property agent, Mr. Lee, also lives at the property. So just some history on the property. Since September of 2022, there have been several repeat violations along with other violations at the property. So this is kind of giving a breakdown of not necessarily all the complaints or the inspections that have been done at the property, but the ones that we found were in violation and it resulted in some type of action. So on September 21st of 2022, we got a complaint regarding polycarts and trash and debris. The code enforcement officer did observe a violation of the property, and a notice was sent to the property owner on record with Dallas Central Appraisal District. On September 26th of 2022, the violation for polycarts was observed again, and a citation was issued. And if you see the picture on the screen right now, that is from the violation on September, I think the 26th, I can't see the date up there. And then on September the 28th, Mr. Lee was notified that the hot tax, that HOT stands for the hotel occupancy taxes, which the short-term rental properties are required to pay quarterly. He was notified that this hot tax was due. Finance did confirm that the payment was paid the next week. So he did make that hot tax payment. April the 7th of 2023, this was after we had adopted the new ordinance regulations, or the short-term rental regulations. We went ahead and notified everybody by mail of those new regulations, including the new fees that would be coming down the path in May. The fee went from $25 for registration to $500 for a permit process, which included 4 quarterly inspections, the permit fee, and an administrative fee. On June the 6th of 2023, the police department responded to a noise complaint and did advise the owner to turn down the music. On June the 19th of 2023, again, the police department responded on a parking violation, and the owner advised that they would move the car. June the 29th of 2023, polycart violation was observed and a citation was issued, and this is the picture of that violation. August the 1st of 2023, the police department responded to an unconscious person at the property. The person ended up being deceased, and they transported someone else to the hospital. And I think one of the guests fled on foot. August the 1st of 2023, a notification through our database was sent to Mr. Lee that his permit application was incomplete after he applied. I guess I love that. He did apply for his permit in April. And then on August the 3rd, Mr. Lee was notified again that the information submitted was not correct. On August the 8th, another notification letting him know that information still had not been submitted. And on August the 10th of 2023, a citation was issued for a polycart violation. And then August the 16th of 2023, a verbal notification was given to Mr. Lee that he still did not have a valid permit and was not allowed to book the property until that permit was obtained. So to obtain that permit, he had to provide all the documentation and have an inspection before a passing inspection. So he was told that at that time, if he was found in violation, the permit would be revoked. And we were also advised him that he was advertising that they had, like on Airbnb, was showing 16 people, and our occupancy limits are 12. Mr. Lee did correct that immediately. On August 19th, 2023, there was an inspection, an unannounced site inspection conducted, and we did observe guests at the property, booked the property for 16, and a citation was issued for not having a valid permit, for exceeding the occupancy limit, and for occupying a short-term rental prior to having a passing inspection. So there were 3 citations actually issued that day. On September the 3rd of 2023, another unannounced site visit was conducted. Again, guests were noted at the property. When I contacted Mr. Lee, he did state that he had the inspection completed, and the permit was issued on August the 30th of 2023. At that time, we decided to meet with the city attorney on how to move forward with the property. And on September the 6th, we had conversations with Mr. Lee, and we gave him the option of having a 30-day suspension, or he could come to a hearing before the board of adjustment. He chose to go ahead and move forward with a 30-day suspension. We let him know that if there were no violations during that 30-day suspension, that we would reinstate his permit. So site inspections were done and announced site inspections on September the 9th, September the 23rd, and September the 30th, and no violations were observed at the property. On October the 6th, the permit was reinstated. On 10/27, we had another complaint about a lot of vehicles the guests were parking at the property. Code enforcement and police responded to the parking violations. Vehicles were observed and the guests did move the vehicles. The guests were misinformed, so no further action was taken on that date. I'll get back up and I'll give you a little bit of information on the pictures up here. We use a third-party vendor to, I guess, monitor our bookings, or the short-term rental bookings. So on the top one, it shows you the property and it gives you the listings they have, and you can actually click on one of those and it takes you directly to a listing. The bottom one is that it shows us when a property is booked. So if you see the dates in blue, those are bookings. And then there's a light blue color, those are different booking. So you can see that the property is booked. It was booked a lot in July, some bookings in August. On January the 20th to 24, an ordinance violation. The police responded and found more than 4 vehicles parked at the property. One was too close to the intersection and more than 4 were in the driveway. Our ordinance does state in the new regulations, no more than 4 vehicles can be parked at the property for the guest, and only the property owner can park on the street. And the vehicles for the guests have to be parked in the driveway or the garage. And they are required at the time of permit application to submit a parking plan to us. On February the 6th of 2024, the permit revocation notice was posted on the door, emailed, and sent regular certified mail to Mr. Lee and to his mother, the property owner. And it was regarding the violation on January the 20th to 24th, since we had continued violations of the property. On February the 9th, Mr. Lee did send in a written appeal, so that we scheduled a hearing for tonight. And then on February the 19th, an inspection was conducted regarding high grass and trash and debris. And a notice of violation was sent out. I forgot to put that on there, but I guess that. A notice of violation was sent out for those violations. And then on February the 28th, we did receive a quarterly report for the hot taxes from finance showing that as of the 28th, the hot taxes had not been paid. So since the reinstatement of the short-term rental permit at 2109 Indian Trail, there have been 9 complaints submitted to the city. 8 were regarding the parking violations. So this is from the reinstatement of the permit date, which was October the 6th of 2023. Most recent complaint, like I stated earlier, was January the 20th of 24 regarding the vehicles. So due to the ongoing complaints after the permit reinstation, the notice of revocation was issued on February the 6th of 2024. Since September of 2022, when we went back on the timeline, there have been over 30 complaints submitted to the city of Rowlett regarding alleged parking violations, noise violations, occupancy violations, polypark violations at this property. So the occurrence of the third repeat violation regarding the permit, the occurrence of the third repeat violation regarding permit violations led to the initial suspension of the short-term rental permit in 2023, in September. After it was reinstated, multiple complaints have been submitted, and we had the parking violation on January 20th of 2024. So due to these factors, the revocation of the short-term rental permit is an appropriate action that the board should consider upholding. So staff recommends that the board uphold the revocation of the short-term rental permit at 2109 Indian Trail. Questions? Are there any questions at this point, or wait till the end?
You don't have any questions?
Yes, I do. If the permit is pulled, what amount of time is the person wait to reapply? Is that possible, or is it a permit?
They're annual permits.
And so it'd be at least for a 12 calendar month suspension? Or
If y'all did the revocation at this time, yes, that would be, I will let the city attorney talk on that, but yes.
I think that they all start on January 1st, if I'm not mistaken, so it would be for the remainder of this calendar year.
Any other questions from anyone on the board? I actually have a couple questions. Can you clarify, the ordinance states that after 3 complaints or complete violations or citations?
It just says the third repeat occurrence. So that could be a violation, it could be a citation. We haven't really considered a complaint as one of those, because if you get a complaint, it's not always valid. So if we took some type of action, is what we figured the repeat occurrence.
Thank you. Good, all right. I get this at this time. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open up for citizens' input. As we mentioned before, if you'd like to speak, you have 3 minutes.
Chair,
What's that? Oh, yeah, we want to give the opportunity for the, let's give the partner time to speak first. As a reminder, when you approach the podium, you just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Lee. I live in Indian Trail, 2109 Indian Trail. My mom does own this property, but I do manage it. As Jeanette has gone through, beginning of the year, the ordinance has changed for the short-term rentals. And we have been working closely through text to call. She can visit many times to, walk you through, kind of her. So I guess we'll start appreciating you guys, being here, and personally apologize to all the neighbors that we have affected through all this situation that we're going through. So let's move forward with the slide and we can start with the trash bin situation. This is what we have now. If you see the call list, this is what we call the first of 2022, when we had to complain the trash. When we got the home, there was only 2 bins, and we had called them many times to get extra bins because, the amount of trash. And back then, there wasn't a regulation where to today, which I'm glad there is now, that the guest amount is only maximum up to 12. So before, they could have a lot of guests, you know, in a rental, and which caused a lot of trash. And I understand there was few incidents where we left the trash out and didn't come pick it up because the extra trash that was sitting past the trash cans, they didn't want to get it. So they just emptied the trash bins, but not the trash around it. In which the animal came through the night and caused trouble, you know, rip up the trash bags. And we assumed that was already picked up, but the second, third day, then it was kind of, you know, made a mess in the alley. So, you know, you can see the call issue. We have called them many, many times throughout the course of at least a few months before we ever moved on to the trash bags. And then, so, besides the trash bin situation, that was back in 22, we haven't had any violation. We have a lot of complaints, you know, about the cars and because all the neighborhood, that's the first, I guess, rental property that's close to them. They wasn't used to it, and now different people coming in and out, they weren't comfortable with that, and we fully understand. And then, as Jeanette told you guys that we did apply a short-term rental, but we were at a time when there was a change, I think in April, it was April of 2023, and so we didn't get that notified with the ordinance change, and we kept up with it. And the ticket that she claimed on the around 2023 of short-term rental, maximum occupancy, and the permit removal, those 3 or 4 tickets was actually dismissed. As you can see from the details of all the charges or ticket that was dismissed, because as I proved in evidence to Jeanette that we did not have more than 12 as after we applied, you know, after we were kept up with the ordinance. And after, you know, Jeanette saw the evidence and realized and did dismiss it when we had talked with the church attorney. And the violation, as in which she was talking about, that we had our suspicion, our permit suspended, we continue rent, and it wasn't that we try to break the law or break the guidelines, not law, but guidelines to continue renting. And she did reapply at that moment before the suspension, and because, you know, there was a delay, some information was wrong, but due to the change of the ordinance, the requirements of the law was needed. And actually, I can't remember her last name, but you see the email from Tammy, she was the one that actually reissued me the certificate of short-term rental. She actually did approve me of the rental before we actually continued our rental. So in our understanding that we were approved, and she was notified as well, she was notified. And that's why the case of, the charge of the citation was dropped as well. There's another charge that she issued us in court, well, not in court, but in district attorney, she told me that she put in the wrong date. She kind of got the date issued wrong, so she had to reissue another one. That's why there were multiple on it. And before then, the trash bins was issued wrong as well, because they had a ticket issued under my brother's name, which is very similar to mine. So they had to transfer it back over to my name. So that's why there were multiple tickets. But we did not repeat multiple violations since we got our trash bins, and even today, you guys can check into that. Move on to this. This is the day that the ticket, when the guests and the booking, we only had 8 guests in that day. We'll go to the next one. So this is from the 20th of what the reason, the most, and from the incident, I assume everybody heard about the incident of what happened in last year around August. And a lot of people was misinformed through online social media about there was triple homicide, this and that. So if you guys can go look on the time frame when people start calling, complaining from the neighbors and all that, because they assume something bad or illegal is happening, it happened in that property. But if you guys didn't get close to look at the police report and assume you guys know what happened, it was just an accident that happened, that could happen to anybody. You know, and after that, you guys can see every single time our landscaper guys came by to cut our grass, they get complained, they get called cops on, they're cutting, they have to cut grass, and we cannot call. I have complaints where people got a Uber Eats delivery, they're 5-10 minutes got a phone call, police, you know, police officer called on them, you know, many situations like that. And as, you can go to the next page, and well, where the corner house is actually right across the street from a very popular trail, fishing trail, a hiking trail, that I've been going there since I was 12 or 14 years old. And that, where that corner is, that street by the stop sign, you guys see, that's where everybody park around fishing season. And I can't help, I can't guide, I can force them to not park there. In a lot of situations, after when those still, a lot of times I have to get her to text me a message from city to tell my guests that, hey, you can't park there, or it's not allowed, because to them, it's unheard of. There's no such thing. Why can everybody park there, but they can't? But it's a city guidelines, we have to follow it. And I have personally called the cops myself, because they think, they had a attendant that was there, that was a Garland police officer, and that was a Rowlett police officer. They don't even know the guidelines. They don't even know the new updated short-term rental permits guidelines. And I had multiple occasions where I had called the cops to tell them to move it. They had came to talk to my tenant, tell, hey, it's okay. You're not breaking any, your car's facing the right way, you're not blocking the intersection, you're not breaking any laws so you can park. So now I'm battling between my tenant and what the city guideline, because I can't put it on Airbnb. It is based on every city that they have different, guidelines. So, and from this, every fishing season, that whole street is gonna get packed. It's gonna, people will come fishing. I know, like I said, I went there and parked myself. And this is what I tell you, as you guys see, I feel like if you guys, will not permit parking there, you guys can put, do not parking or toll or block that street, because it's side of our house that we cannot control, because it's not our area, not our property. And so on the January 20th, this is our back garage of photos that we took. So she said she had a call, and like I said, from that situation in August, we have not had any issue or any violation. We have calls and complaints, and we got a lot of misinformed neighbors and are calling every chance they get. It's important to call. So there will be records of them calling the cops, but in a day, no citation was issued, no issue, no situation happened, because we didn't break any guidelines. And the left two cars, like in Jeanette knows, those are my cars. And by city guidelines, the owner are allowed to park his own car and in his own, driveway in the street. So with the photo of this, my guest only had 3 cars in my driveway. But one of the citation, well, not citation, but notice was I had 5 or 6 cars. And there is clearly 5 cars, but two of them was mine. And you see that my guests only booked 11 people, and I have checked the cameras many times. I have talked to the guests, and they're like, that's not my car, that's not, And I have gone many hours going back to our camera and looked through the videos, and we had there was neighborhood kids that was parking there. They're saying that they were there fishing or whatever. That I'm not sure how many. We didn't have a camera from the side of the house, so I can't see what the complaint or how many car was. But I have corrected that already. We have cameras inside the house as well now. So we're gonna go to the next page. And if you see, this is January 20th. This is around 4:30, where I think about first phone called in, complained. On that same day with a few people parking, I'm not sure how many people was there, but I was told there was about 15 cars there, give or take. And as you can see at 4:30, we have no car. This is a picture of front of our house from our cameras. And like I said, the cross between these 2 houses in front of it is where the fishing trail is. And I feel like that's to block that area off when people understand we'll put do not enter from this area. It will help the parking in the future. And like I said, since August of 2022, we haven't had any violations besides this. So if you can go to the next one, and this is by nighttime, about 9, almost 10 o'clock, still no cars. But within those 2-3 hours, we have 4 or 5 calls coming in saying there's cars. So I'm not saying they're calling, on a car's not there, but I assume there's cars inside, but that's not area that we're in control. Move to the next slide, please. And this is the picture of where our house is, and across the street. Is that arrow? That's literally how close the trail is from fishing trail. Everybody's going to fish there. You guys grew up in Rowlett, I think you guys will know that And we read the reviews, and even our reviews shows that we enforce very clearly that we only allow 4 cars and no street parking. And that guest is the one that Janelle actually went to the house. Luckily that Janelle was there that day, you know, if not, they wouldn't have moved their car because the officer that came told them they're allowed to park there. They had got attending that with a police officer, thinking that I'm making it up to make them do extra, you know, extra work that's costing us bad reviews, costing us, you know, complaints and stuff like that. So if you go to the next one, and this is the video that we found. If you can hit play, and you see the love is the amount of booking we have. We only have 11 people that day, and if you can hit play in the bottom of that, and that is the same day at January 20th. I still, the camera angle like not have to see the side of the house. But again, I do have it now. And we will play the. Well, I guess I can just kind of describe a little bit. It was just I guess a young teenager or kid, I don't know how old he is. He came and asked, he knocked on the door and asked an attendant that if they're allowed to park in his second house, that his friend's birthday, that's his favorite fishing place. And they have a bunch of friends out there meeting up there after school to go, not after school, but I don't know what time they say, to meet there to go fish. So on that day, because of that, we got calls. And that's not even our cast. And if you guys have any question, I would love to answer it. And again, from August to now, we have no violation besides this, which is not even a violation. It was misinformed from the neighbors.
Do you have any questions for Robert Young?
Okay.
Good.
Mr. Lee, you mentioned about all these fishermen that park there. Where do you go fishing? Where's the place to go fishing?
I haven't fished here in a while, so
Okay.
I'm gonna text someone personally if you're
The
asking.
lake is right behind the house. Is the lake.
That's actually the nature trail.
Yes, that connects it to the lake.
It's not a fishing trail, it's the nature trail.
Yes, it is correct, Jimmy. But it's a nature trail that connects to, if you go through that trail, and if you walk down about maybe 4 or 5 minutes in, some some people that grew up here understand and knows, and you are connected to the lake, or the opening of the Rowlett Creek to the Red Harbor Lake. So that's the, like I said.
Goes to Rowlett Creek. It doesn't go to the lake, it goes to Rowlett Creek, and it has very limited fishing places down there. Now, you said that you lived there, is that correct? You lived at the house?
I do live at the house as well.
How long have you lived at the house?
Since we got the house, that 2021, around 2021,
Okay,
I don't know exact date.
so do you stay there when you have guests?
Well, so in and out, so some, depends on the bookings, we have bookings where people can book private rooms, then we will be there as well. There's times that people can book the entire house. Then we will go book, go book another Airbnb to save money, to generate money, because this business is actually for my whole family, it's not just for me or for anybody. So,
But you do live in the house.
yes, correct.
So your trash is picked up when, Monday?
Yes,
Okay,
well, we left that Sunday and picked up Monday, yes, correct.
okay. So to get all these violations for your trash cans, you're not there to Monday evening or Tuesday or Wednesday to go pick up the
So I,
carts and move them out?
so in a situation like that, the last 2022, I didn't know that it was left out. Even if it was outside, I didn't think to walk back to the alley. I didn't know, I thought it was picked up in a situation with the complaints. I assumed that it was picked up, which usually they do. I didn't know until 2-3 times later, and like I said, since 2022 to now, it's almost 2 years, I have not had a violation of trash issue back in LA. We actually hired a neighborhood kid too, that can cut our grass, and I offer him $20 a week to pull our trash out on Sunday and pull the trash back in on Monday. We have done every situation we can, try to follow and be perfect with the guidelines and make sure this stays, peaceful for everybody, because that's again our end goal, so.
Okay. So your house, how your alley is real long on one end, is that correct? Goes down 3 blocks, I guess, on one side. And then it goes down maybe 1 block before it hits, not University, but whatever the other street is.
That's big.
Cascade Court.
Okay. And so when they came out and advised you that your tenants were parking and blocking the alley, where was that? Was that in the bend there at your driveway, or is that down at Cascade?
So, to answer you, in that situation, we had few complaints about that people blocking the alley. So it is a tight turn and corner to enter our gate. So I advise people that if you guys have, I don't have pictures right now, but if you guys go by there, you see my gate has been hit many times by bad drivers, I guess. So I advise them to reverse back in, so it's easier to come back out, so they don't reverse back into, our gate, which happened many times. So during that reverse time, there are many occasions where 2 or 3 cars waiting to go in, where they're being there for less than a minute or 2 minutes. And I have phone calls with police calls that they have argument because they're late. And if you see past our corner drive, there's actually enough space for 2 cars, almost 3 cars to drive around that corner. So the neighbors that was passing there, or who was passing, can easily drive past them. But they were like, call the cops on it because they didn't want to wait a minute or 2 minutes.
So you have, am I correct that you have some tenants that park down on Cascade and walk to your house?
Not that I know of, never had a complaint on that, never got
So
told about
the
that.
parking that you're claiming as they're telling you that you have too many parked on either Indian Trail and or University.
So what was your question? Where is the call?
Is that right, that you live on the corner of University and
Yes, that's correct.
face Indian Trail? So is it too many cars parked on Indian Trail or University or both?
Recently, it's this last January 20th is University. I have not had any complaints about in front of my house since last year, since I have been updated with the guidelines since April 2023. So to answer that, it's the University only. That's why I had to show a picture in front of my house. And at that time, I did not. I had the camera installed after February, after I got the notice, and I tried to correct it right away so it won't happen again, so I can keep an eye on it.
So if you live there and others either rent a house or if they rent the whole house and you move out temporarily for them to stay there, how is it that you watch over your property to make sure that your tenants, your short-term tenants, are not violating anything?
Through cameras and the agreements that they have to sign before they sign to Airbnb, the agreements that they have to agree to before they can make a booking, that through our house rules. And if you guys see our house rules, it's almost, an essay long of house rules of every guidelines that there is to make sure they don't break that. And the best we can do, we have cameras inside the house as well, in the common area, which a lot of people don't like. It hurts us, but that's what we go to do, make sure people like it happens. They book 10 and they try to party secretly or whatever. But I have cameras inside my kitchen, in my front of the living room, and back to my pool as well. So I can see that if I want to. I try to give people privacy, but if I get a complaint, a noise complaint or something somebody texts me about, my employee drove by and saw too many cars or whatever reason, I can go into the camera and make sure that they are not violating anything. And they aren't, I can terminate their stay right away. I can call Airbnb at that moment and they have to leave and they will lose all those bookings.
All right, and one last question, and before I ask that question, I want to ask the city attorney. Are we allowed to ask questions about why and if the drugs were involved or whatever, that there was a death on property in the pool?
It's not the basis of one of the violations. I think you can go very gingerly into that, but not too deep. I think it is important what's happening on the property. But again, it's not the basis of one of the violations.
Okay. Well, Mr. Lee, was any drugs involved in the guy that drowned in the pool?
To what the report is, there is, but from the detective that been talking to me about it, he said he can't disclose that. So that's something that you have to talk to the detective. I think Eric is the detective that's on the case, from the city of Rowlett. They wanna even let me release the videos to the family's wife or family, the deceased family. That was an accidental drowning. It wasn't a homicide or triple homicide, what everybody's saying online. And I have been, throughout the years since then, I have been getting calls, third calls, that are telling me, text messages telling me, sell my house, you get out, you shouldn't belong here, you know. I personally have done nothing to them. We understand that situation scared them. In that situation, they didn't open the door because they were actually, they weren't English speaking, Spanish. I think they came from Mexico and they didn't speak English and they seen a lot of movies and they were scared. And I assume, you know, whatever the reason is, somebody passed away and it was early morning, they didn't want to open that door. And that's all I know from there. It was.
So I'm to understand, basically, you're saying you don't know if it was or not.
I can't sit there, I wasn't there at the scene, I didn't, if there was alcohol there, I didn't go test the alcohol if there was drugs in there. I did not be able to conduct that kind of research on everyone like this.
Any other questions from the board? Good.
So how do you communicate the rules of parking and to your tenants?
So with that, it's actually one of the first rule before you book. It's the first rule on house rules is do not park in the street. That's my, because I understand that's the most calls I got, and you know, so they know that. And every time before the booking, I actually reinstate that. I'll text them as well. I'll sometimes call, but most of the time text, because I'm not always, you know, available to call or stay on the phone. So I would text them the copy and highlight and circle the part where there's no street parking. You maximum on about 4 cars in the driveway, you know, and I enforce that every single guest. And I have to understand, we have guests almost every week. And from August to now, every week we've been doing pretty well since when, you know, the trash situation of 2022.
How do you communicate the rules about the trash cans? I've stayed in many verbos and they vary, but they're generally, if there's a rule, they make it explicit, like right at the top, when the trash goes out and what you do.
So that's actually in our house rules as well, from middle to the end of it. Like I said, we hired a person to actually take care of the trash for them now, so that would never become an issue again.
So how long have you had that person hired?
Over a year, give or take. I can't remember exactly, but give or take over a year. And like I said, 2022's, I'm not sure what month, is the last issue we have with the trash.
And how long have you made it explicitly clear about the parking in your house rules?
Since I found out when after the incident in August
of
2023 of last year, when Jeanette told me about the change of maximum stay and car parking, and from then, every booking I have been personally messaged them before the booking.
Have you ever evicted a tenant because they broke the rules?
Yes, I have. Many times, actually, 3 or 4 times at least. I understand when a lot of people, when they vote, they want to skip by and get back to rules. But to me, it's our family income that's at stake. It's not just my income, you know. So I'd rather lose this fund, this booking this weekend, than lose my permit for the year or for whatever amount of time.
Do you have any documentation of those times that you evicted?
I can send it to Jeanette, you know, I have her contact and email it to him. I have booking that's been canceled many times over, like I said, to what I know, at least over 4 or 5. Well, I had to go count throughout this year to now,
And you've done that
personally.
since the beginning or since you got in trouble?
Since when I was notified, because it wasn't an issue at the beginning. It wasn't a city guideline, as Jeanette stated. It wasn't implemented until April of 2020, March or April of 2023. So before then, it was more of a complaint than they had to park, in the back or whatever, amount of cars, I think that's what it was.
Any other questions from the board?
Chair, I wanted to correct my prior answer. The code of ordinances says that an annual permit expires January 31. Chair.
So basically, it would be permitted until January. Thank you. Any other questions?
More questions?
Okay, thank you. I do have a few questions for the city, some clarifications. Is the parking quantity that's allowed for this issue, is it a fixed number or is it somehow related to occupancy?
The parking requirement is a fixed number of 4.
So the city sees it as reasonable that a 12-person occupancy should only be able to have 4 vehicles, and that's reasonable? I don't think that's reasonable, okay. Second, for the street parking, are they not allowed to park guests on the street, period, or is that just an overnight requirement?
They are not allowed to park on the street, period. The only allowance for parking on the street is that the property owner, if he or she lives at the property, they can park on the street.
Okay, so for a homeowner and they had guests, are those guests allowed to park on the street?
If Mr. Lee, I'll use Mr. Lee as an example, if he had guests at his property and he was having a family function, then yes, those guests could park on the street, just like any one of the neighbors or.
Right, so I'm just trying to understand, is there very particular rules specific for rental properties that don't apply to the homes in the neighborhood? The other members of the neighborhood?
Are there other regulations that apply only to the short-term rental?
Yes, specific to parking. Is parking specific for short-term rentals?
Yes, it is specific for short-term rental, that's correct.
And I do want to, if you could share with us the difficulties with the permitting and whatnot, is that unusual for the rental properties that we have throughout the neighborhood, or is that more in line with what you're experiencing with the rules and the permitting?
I will say when we first started the process, because we already had a registration process in place, so the ones that were reviewing under these new guidelines, it was a transition for them because there were more regulations, there were more things that they had to know and submit than in the past.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, at this time, thank you again. Thank you for your presentation as well. At this time, we'll open up for public comment. Again, approach the podium, state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Kenneth Jones. I live at 2105 Indian Trail. First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. I'm one of those misinformed neighbors, so I just want to maybe put a face to what you've been hearing. My wife and I, we've lived there for 15 years. Let me clarify a few things. First of all, Mr. Lee does not live there. My neighbors can verify. I work in the yard all the time. I know the neighborhood. I know his vehicles, what you pointed out to you, they're not there. They're there every few months. So he does not live there. The next thing is that history that was shown up there, I appreciate it, but it's not captured every event. Those are only the ones that are reported. There's a heck of a lot more goes on at that house. Another thing, the fishing. Yes, there are fishermen. Before they built that park on Miller Road, there used to be a lot of people would park and they would fish. They would go to the trail and they would, I think during the springtime, it was bad. But now that that park has been built on Miller, that was a few years ago, there are very few fishermen. Absolutely right. There's ones and twos here and there. It is not what's being portrayed. And I can tell you that because they used to frustrate me out the wazoo. They would park all up and down. But once the park was built on Miller a few years ago, they started going over there. So you only see one or two people going and coming. As I mentioned, my wife and I, we've lived here for over 15 years. We live right next door to the short-term rental. Some of the things we've had to endure is loud parties. I mean, you got loud music. My daughter, her room is on the other side, so she has to listen to the parties. There's loud music. You've heard about the parking. I I don't know if I can show you this, but there is parking. You were asking about where the cars are parked. It's not only University, but it's also Indian Trail. And yes, it has gotten better, but I want you to see the holistic part of this. When you go home in the evening, what do you expect? You want peace of mind, am I right? When you pay your mortgage, you expect to go to a place at the end of a long day where you can relax. We don't have that luxury. We never know who's gonna show up. I've had construction workers have their vehicles parked in front of the house. I've had people in the middle of the night, motorcycles revving, you hear voices in the middle of the night, people walking and carrying on. And the smell of marijuana, I just pray I never get drug tested at work. Because there's marijuana smoke coming from that home all the time. I think the climax happened last August with the death at that home. And I'm getting calls at work. My wife had to be escorted back to the home. This is a quiet neighborhood. You can see my neighbors here. These are neighbors, these people who walk their dogs, they work out in the yard. We have a very quiet, a very community neighborhood. And it was broken that day with that death. You had helicopters, you had police. They're trying to secure the scene. He wasn't there because he doesn't live there. And when all this was occurring, now all of a sudden, our neighborhood is like, what is going on here? And I'm having to tell people, I'm sitting in a meeting at work, and you find out, somebody just died at the house next door to me. What does that do for your peace of mind? Now I'm trying to wrap it up, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
thank you. Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap it up. I had contacted Jackson, we had submitted complaints. I understand private property rights, I get that. But when those rights infringe on the rights of others, there's a problem. So all I'm asking you is to do the right thing. That's all I'm asking you to do the right thing.
Thank you.
My name is Janelle McClendon. I live at 2702 Cascade Court. Our home shares the alley with the short-term rental. And I'm asking that you revoke the permit for that home. It's been an ongoing problem since it started operating, and it's just been a slow decline. The home maintenance, the home was beautiful, and when they took over, the maintenance on it, the yard, the bushes are overgrown in the flower beds. The yard is non-existent. It's nothing but weeds. It does get mowed occasionally, but it's night and day, that yard compared to our yards. There's trash regularly left out in the front yard by tenants as they're coming and going. The home is dragging down our property values. I feel sorry for the people who live across the street from it right now who are trying to sell their home. Because I would not purchase a home if I knew the home across the street from me was a short-term rental. Those poly cards have been left out. That has gotten a lot better, but there for a while it was a constant trash, and our alley being full of trash that the animals have scattered up and down. Parking issues on the 20th, this last time in January, when we left to go to dinner that night as the sun was going down, we pulled over because we saw a line of cars. They were pulling up in front of the house. They were dropping guests off, and then they were turning around and they were going and parking their vehicles on University Drive. We went and we counted 15 cars on University Drive that were associated with that house. When we came in from dinner that night after dark, the driveway was overflowing. I believe there were 5 cars in there, and then there were 3 in the alley. So our alley is about 1 lane wide, and then we have patches of grass about this amount on both sides of the alley. And they were parked on the grassy part and partly onto the concrete. I was one of those neighbors who called the police about it. I took pictures of it. I still have the pictures. I submitted the pictures online in my complaint. Just this last week, my husband was leaving to take his boat. He's going fishing early in the morning, and there's a truck parked in that grassy way, and he had to drive on our neighbor's grass behind their fence to get out of there because there's always vehicles parked on there. That driveway is so sloped. I don't blame people for not wanting to park down in there, but they block the alley. They're parking on that grass. There's large parties. That the home is advertised as a party house. I go back and I look at the reviews. People book it for weddings, they book it for birthday parties, for graduation parties, for prom. There was a DJ in the backyard, and we couldn't hear because of that. That. This home is a blight on our neighborhood. Please shut it down. It's like living next to a venue, not a home. They are not good neighbors.
I did want to share, there's a timer up there. Please keep an eye on that so we can stay on time, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the board. My name is Renard Richardson, reside at 2610 Cascade Court, Rowlett. My Ken and Janelle has said a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I wanted to go in more to a technical side because I'm a landlord, not in Rowlett or anything of that nature, so I understand Mr. Lee's situation. But as Ken and Janelle indicated, there's we want tranquility. I've been in Rowlett since 1985, been in that house since 1996. And as they indicated, the manicured lawns, as you can see on the photos, it's a situation where that particular house is not manicured. One thing I wanted to let the board know in helping you with your decision is, because I'm a landlord also, is that when I saw that they were transferring the garage, which was a 3-car garage, into living space, I was wondering why the city, and I have a question for the city, I guess the city code, I contacted them and they said that was basically okay to transfer a 3-car garage into living space. Being a landlord, I thought it would be more for a den or party room, but going to the website, they transferred the 3-car garage into 2 bedrooms and a bath. And in the Airbnb listing, or the reviews rather, people indicated that the bathroom facilities in that renovation area is semi-private. How can you have a semi-private bathroom? So again, that's my complaints. I basically want to reiterate that he's not a good neighbor. As Janelle indicated, we knew the neighbors that were there, that originally was there back in 1996. They kept that house impeccable, and as of now, it's just ridiculous. He has one of the most expensive fences in the city of Rowlett. He doesn't take care of it. The previous owner did that, and as you can see on the photos of the front of the house, just deplorable. I ask that you revoke the license. Thank you.
My name is Andrea Johnson. I live at 2706 Cascade Court, and I've lived at my home since 1999. First, I want to address how he said their Airbnb is very about parking. Their Airbnb listing says City of Rowlett allows 4 cars max to park in our drive. If there will be more than 4 cars or oversized cars, extra visitor guests, please confirm with us first. If not, extra charges with fines per car and per guest will apply. And then if you look down further, under bikes, but I don't think it means bikes, it says, free driveway parking on premises, 10 spaces, free street parking. We just looked that up. On the complaint report, on 10/13, he mentioned an altercation. That was with me. And Ken knows. My husband and I were coming home and we were waiting in the alley for these cars to pull up, and they just sat there for about 3 minutes. And my husband and I finally honked. And they kind of moved over and we got around, and the lady started yelling at my husband because he honked. And so my husband said, "What's the problem?" And she started, "Well, why can't you in?" He said, "I didn't see a child." Well, he said, "You guys were blocking the alley for about 3 minutes. So my husband went to park, and I thought, these people are gonna be here all night. And there were about 20 people maybe.
So I went back down after my husband left and before I went back to work, and I said, hey, I just want to apologize. We've had a lot of trouble out in this Airbnb. And this woman starts screaming at me. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't understand. I'm just coming down to apologize. She said, well, I said, we've had a lot of trouble. She goes, well, the owner lied to us. They told us we could have more people. They told us we could park more cars than apparently we can. And they lied to us. So I'm not quite certain you're being completely honest. Thank you. She bring.
Dan Hathaway.
Thanks again for listening to us. Thanks for your time. My name is Dan Hathaway. My wife and I live at 2114 Indian Trail. We've been there 23 years. We've been Rowlett citizens for 33 years. A lot of the legal ramifications and implications have already been discussed, so I'm going to speak more from, which kind of already been touched on, from the homeowner's position. And I ask you to consider putting yourselves in our shoes when you make your decision. To start off with, yes, there's been multiple times where we've had way too many cars. There was one time where I counted 40 plus cars, and I have video of that on my phone. Another time we had what I would call a circus tent in the backyard with a DJ, and extremely loud, extremely disruptive. The problem initially was, maybe it's been cleared up, is that I've had to self-educate, not my favorite thing to do, and I've had numerous conversations with code enforcement, different code enforcement officers. Again, not my favorite thing to do. But originally, the police were dispatched on the weekends because that's usually when this is going on, and you can't talk to code enforcement on the weekends. And they're dispatched, they don't even know that this is a VRBO. I think that's been cleared up now, but initially, the responding police didn't even know that. So they think they're just going there to just break up a neighborhood park. Last time I checked in that neighborhood, it's not zoned for commercial property, nor is it zoned for multifamily. Well, it's being operated commercially, and you can certainly argue that on more than one occasion, there's more than 12 people. That's the limit. I had to educate myself on that. The 4 cars, that's the limit. You can certainly make the argument that that's how it's being operated, as a commercial property and more than, and basically a multifamily scenario. We were told initially when we first moved into that neighborhood, we kind of had a petition to have speed bumps put in because that's a wide street and there's a lot of traffic. And we were told one of the reasons they didn't want to do it is because it would impede the emergency response vehicle's time to address an issue. Well, when you've got 40 cars parked on the street, it's kind of the same mindset in my mind. In his ad, we've already talked about it. In his ad, it says, extra guests and more cars with owner's permission. Really? Okay. And it says parking free on the street. Okay. There's been multiple complaints, you've already heard all that. And in my opinion, this place is being operated on basically as an event center. And when we moved into this property and bought our property in our house, that was not on our list of things to be next to an event center. And I think as a realtor, I'm not sure that would go over very well either if we say, hey, we got this great house for sale, but sorry about that. There's an event center right there, not mine. So anyway, like I said, put yourself in our shoes when you make this decision, because it's not been a good decision.
Thank you. Concludes the list of folks listed to call. At this point, do we have any additional comments before we open it up for board discussion? All right, at this time, open it up for discussion by the board. right, at this time, ask for a request to make a motion.
A lot to take in, a lot of things to think about. I do make a motion to, approve the request to pull the permit.
Second motion. All right, so we got a motion and a second. At this time, we'll vote.
Chairman, if I might, could I amend the motion to say a motion to uphold the revocation of the permit?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to uphold revocation of the permit. Thank you.
Second the motion. All right, this time, the board will vote on the motion. Hand vote. All right, all those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. This time, we'll move to item 5, we'll adjourn the meeting. Time now is 7:41.
Chairman, can I make a suggestion? And since the city attorney's here.
Sure.
I would like to see us allow 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes for rebuttal, if you will, on public hearings. I know the city council says theirs at 3, but I know of nothing in the code or anything that says we have to look at the same thing they have.
Yeah, I think it was agreed to in a work session of the board, so we'd have to go in the work session and discuss the rules.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, at this time is 7:42 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.